it is, the new 2000 Ford Taurus. It's redesigned, new and improved, better than ever. Hold on a minute here. Haven't you heard all that before? Well, this isn't about gloss. It isn't about hype or the hard sell. This is about building a car that delivers what real people and real families want. But you don't need to hear that from me. To deliver that message, you'll hear from real customers and a real engineer from outside Ford Motor Company to tell us how Taurus delivers and show you how to present those features to your customers. We went out on the street talking to people about what they're looking for in a family sedan. What we heard won't surprise you. It's probably a lot like what you're hearing on the showroom floor. But the thing is, just about anything customers threw at us, Taurus delivered, and it'll deliver for your customers too.
Safety features have always been at the top of my list. I had a situation where ABS brakes saved my life, literally in a bad rainstorm once. So I've always been very serious about safety in a vehicle, and especially braking.
I'd like to have type of brakes that you're on ice or something like that. It'll automatically adjust to that sort of thing.
So side impact protection is very important, and it is something that I will look in the next car that I buy.
Child safety is very important, so I think that's, as far as the structural integrity of the car, very important.
Child safety first and foremost, making sure that the car is dependable, I'm not going to be stranded. Airbags, the side impact airbags are important. I just want a safe car, so in case I get into a car crash, not that it'll ever happen, but I want to make sure that my child is protected.
Let's welcome Bob Strange, our subject matter expert for this video.
Hi, Jody.
Hi, Bob. Now, these customers told us they want airbags, but they're skeptical about how safe they really are.
It's an issue.
They really want to be sure that their children are protected, and they want to be able to even avoid getting in an accident in the first place. How can one car balance all of those concerns? And what does Taurus have for these people?
Well, Jody, I think you're going to find that the new 2000 Taurus addresses all of these issues and more, actually. Customers have told us that safety is a very high priority when they go out looking for a new car to buy. And I think you'll find that the new Taurus excels in the area of safety. There's actually so many safety features, systems if you want to call it that we've coined a phrase personal safety system to cover quite a few of these, and we're going to be looking at these in just a few minutes. But first of all, let's look at safety from the outside of the Taurus while we're out here. There's two issues that I want to address, and they have to do with the body structure of the Taurus, and they're very, very important, and they're features that you really can't see. So let's take a look at how they work. First of all, the crumple zones. For example, if you run into something with the front of the vehicle, you have a frontal collision, the front end of the Taurus is designed to crumple or crush or literally destroy itself during that collision. And the reason that we want it to do that is that by bending all of this metal and material, every time that happens, energy is absorbed. And again, that energy that's absorbed up here does not get to you, the occupant inside the vehicle. Now, many people have some trouble understanding this crumple and energy and all of that. You know what? You do this every day. You actually have built-in crumple zones, if you want to look at it that way, in your body, and you use them unconsciously. Suppose I get up on this box, and all I want to do is to jump off. Well, I wouldn't consciously say, okay, I'm going to lock my knees and jump off the box. That hurts. You can now see the jolt up through my body. What I would do, and what you would do too, to jump off the box, is you would bend your knees. Now, the bending of your knees is acting just like a crumple zone. Your legs are absorbing the force of this collision and keeping that force from coming up into your body. Same thing happens in the crumple zone, keeping the force from getting to you inside the vehicle. Now, the second part of this system, if we want to look at the outside of the vehicle, has to do with what we call a safety cell construction. Now, the safety cell area is basically the area that you live in the car, the occupant compartment here. What we want with a safety cell is for it to be very strong and very rigid. The goal is to not allow anything to intrude into your space during a collision. So what we have is a very strong, rigid safety cell in combination with the crumple zones that absorb the energy. Both of these work together to make the Taurus a safer vehicle. Now, I mentioned earlier something called a personal safety system. And the first thing we need to look at is, how is the system actually activated? What determines when to activate this system? Let's take a look at that from the outside first. In the front of the Taurus, in the very front end, is something we call an accelerometer, or a sensor. What this sensor does is senses the severity of the accident by determining how quickly the front end of the vehicle is slowing down or decelerating. A second sensor is located inside the passenger compartment, and this sensor does basically the same thing, only it's sensing the deceleration rate of the inside of the vehicle where you're living. A computer takes the information from each of these sensors and puts it all together and determines whether or not to activate some of the features of this personal safety system. Now keep in mind that many times it's just as important to know when not to activate these features as when to activate these features. So let's go inside the Taurus and take a look at how these features of the personal safety system work in conjunction with the safety cell construction and the crumple zones. Now, first and foremost, we want to make sure that everybody understands that this is a system. All of these components work together. And there is one extremely important part of this system that is up to the occupant, and that is to buckle the safety belt. The safety belt is still the #1 safety system in the vehicle. So let's do that. Now, pretensioners are designed to, in the event of a collision, pull the safety belt tight against you. Now, why do we want to do this? Well, first of all, we want to make sure you're in the right position for all of the other safety features to work properly. But mainly what we're trying to do is to avoid your body actually being thrown into the safety belt. We want to have enough slack here so that the belt is comfortable. But once a collision occurs, we want this belt to be pulled back tight against you. Now think about what happens. If I take my two hands here and I push against my left hand with my right hand, like this, the left hand absorbs the energy, but it's a nice slow progression. If I have any slack here or space, when I do that, there's a slap, and there's a high amount of energy that happens because of that. What we want is a nice slow progression of the energy of the collision, and that's what we want to do with a pretensioner. Now, the second thing that the belt incorporates is something called an energy management retractor, and that's built into the retractor that's down in the B pillar. And this is a fairly simple device. It's a torsion bar that the seat belt is attached to. During the collision, as you're thrown forward into the seat belt, this torsion bar twists, and that gradually absorbs the energy of you being thrown forward. Anytime we can get some other component to absorb energy besides your body, the better off you're going to be. Now, one very important feature in the new 2000 Taurus is the dual stage airbag system. The airbags actually have two inflation rates, low rate and a high rate. We've already talked about the crash severity sensors, and that information goes into the computer to determine what rate the airbag is inflated at. There are actually some other sensors that determine that as well. First of all, there's actually a seatbelt usage sensor for the two front seats. In essence, they determine whether or not the occupant decided to buckle their safety belt. If they, for whatever wrong reason, decided not to, the airbag inflation rate is set at the higher level because you no longer have the safety belt to absorb some of the energy. You're going to be thrown forward more quickly. The second thing that is built into the driver's seat is a seat proximity sensor. Now what this does is determines where the seat is. Is it closer to the airbag or farther away from the airbag? And that information is also fed into the computer to determine the inflation rate of the airbag. Optional on all Taurus models are front side impact airbags. Now, I don't think very many people appreciate the benefit of side impact airbags. If you take a look at statistics, fully 25 to 30% of annual fatalities occur because of side impacts, so they can be very important. Now, the airbags that you find in the 2000 Taurus models are what we call combination airbags. That means they protect both your head and your thorax, or your body. Many models from other manufacturers only protect the thorax. This head protection really is valuable in accidents such as a side impact with something like a pole. It makes a big difference in terms of the potential head injury situation. Now, the airbags are mounted in the bolsters, the seat bolsters on the 2000 model year Taurus. This has two benefits. One is by mounting them in the bolsters. When you move the seat forward or back, obviously the airbags stay in exactly the same position relative to your body. So they're always in the proper position to work as designed. The other issue is that by being mounted in that position, the airbag actually inflates somewhat away from you or along the side of your body. If you were to mount them in the door panels, as many manufacturers do, that airbag does expand towards you. And that can be an issue with a lot of customers when they're considering whether or not to purchase the optional side impact airbags. Now, there are two other safety features that we would like to discuss that really have to do with children. First of all, there are child safety seat tether anchors in the back. Now, what these are anchors that are designed to be used with the newer car seats where they have safety tethers that come off the back of the car seat, and these tethers can be attached to the anchors up under the rear window. It helps to better secure these child seats. There's also something called an emergency trunk release handle in the trunk. Now, this emergency trunk release handle is a T-handle that's illuminated. It doesn't require any energy for the illumination. If a child were to lock themselves in the trunk, this handle can be grabbed to open the trunk, release the trunk, and allow the child to get out safely.
Protecting people with the personal safety system is only part of the Taurus safety story. To help drivers avoid an accident in the first place, the 2000 Taurus also has an optional all-speed traction control.
Now, with traction control, the issue is to keep the tire from spinning. And many people think that you only need traction control if you live in northern climates where there's a lot of snow and ice. And that's not really the case as far as I'm concerned. Traction control comes into play in many instances away from those situations, such as today where we have rain. You may have a wet surface here. Or even on situations where you may be on surfaces such as a gravel road surface, or say going from gravel to pavement under acceleration. With front-wheel drive, even things like going up a steep hill. Everybody thinks with front-wheel drive you have the best traction there is, and traction comes from having weight over the tires. If you're going up a steep hill, with front-wheel drive, that weight's being transferred off of the drive tires, so it comes into play there as well. And the idea with traction control is don't allow the wheels to spin. You can do that by either applying the brake to that particular wheel or reducing the engine power, or both, and the computer decides what's the best to do under the circumstances.
Comfort means a lot to me. I need something that is easy to drive, something that is comfortable while driving, because I am on the road a lot.
Because the cars, they don't really have enough roof space. And what we're looking for is enough roof space, because sometimes kids are a lot bigger than their age.
Another thing is I like it that a coffee cup has a wonderful secure position, preferably not where you can knock it over.
Cup holders are helpful.
Yeah, your car has those things on the side where they're like the map pockets on the side of the door, but they're real wide. We don't put maps in there. We put all sorts of stuff.
Right.
Diapers fit.
Well, in storage, I look at it from the standpoint of traveling, and we need a lot of luggage space. So the back has to have a significant amount of room and easy to get in and out of too.
Low is important.
Yeah.
Low trunks.
Low trunks, so you don't have to.
Because we're older and to lift a heavy suitcase is a problem.
And in the European cars, you have pockets that you can put stuff in. And also on the other side, passenger side, I could have pockets.
Just a nice wide, deep trunk, so like a hockey stick fits in or something.
Large trunk space, not where the tire's in the way. Something where I could probably put 2 or 3 pieces of luggage with ease and won't have to struggle to get it out.
I think a wide trunk as well as a deep trunk.
Maybe some organizational stuff for groceries, somewhere where, we have the nets and things like that, but maybe some more organizational things so you can separate things from falling into each other.
I work in a flower nursery, and I put the flowers in people's cars, and I love it when they've got a deep trunk, so I can put something in and pull the trunk lid down, and it's not going to be crushed.
All right, Bob. Now, these customers are telling us they want to be comfortable, but they still want to have enough room for all the stuff they carry around with them.
Really?
They want the basics, like a place to put the morning coffee, but they also want pockets and bins and more.
Sure.
So how does Taurus manage to do all that?
Well, as you know, you can never, ever have enough storage space. Many of us practically live out of our cars. One area that this was addressed is the trunk area. the Taurus deck lid has been raised, and what this has done has given 1.2 more cubic feet of storage in the trunk than last year. It gets it up to 17 cubic feet. Now 1.2 cubic feet may not seem like a big increase, but think about it, it's about the size of a bag of groceries. That's pretty significant. Now to me, one of the more important issues in the trunk is not only how much space there is in it, but the shape of this space. If you take a look at the Taurus trunk, the floor is totally flat, which makes it much easier to put things in and have them stay in position. It's also fairly squared off in here. Most things you put inside a trunk have a relatively square shape. Boxes, bags of groceries, things like that. So it makes it easier to use. It's much more useful in terms of the space. Now also, you still have a low lift-over height. Again, easier to get things into and out of the trunk. And there are built-in grocery hooks. It allows you to tie your groceries down so you don't end up with your vegetables all over the floor when you get home. One last thing that's the most important as far as I'm concerned is that the trunk opening is now 2 inches wider. Makes it a lot easier to get those golf clubs in and out of the trunk. You may also notice that in addition to the deck lid being raised, the roof line has been raised some too, and that increases headroom in the car. Let's take a look. As you can see, the headroom has been significantly increased. It's almost an inch taller in front and almost a full 2 inches taller in the rear, and that's a lot. This was something that was brought up by many of the customers as an issue they'd like to see addressed in the 2000 Taurus. Another issue that has been brought up is the desire for more interior storage space, and that has also been addressed. There are now map pockets in all 4 doors, and in fact in the 5-passenger version that you see here, there's even a map pocket along the side of the console. Notice that there is storage space in front with coin holders, a lot of storage in the console area, and an adjustable cup holder just behind the gear shift lever here. If the customer opts for the 6-passenger version, the flip-fold seat arrangement has been modified this year. The flip-fold portion now folds all the way flat against the floor, makes it much easier to get to the instrument panel. Also, the 2 cup holders that are in that section, I think, are a lot easier to use and more accessible. And overall, that new design, to me, is just allows a lot better access to all of the storage that is available there.
I think what's important is good handling over rough conditions.
Basically, the power capabilities of the car are what I'm looking at, and the handling, how it corners.
I like a very responsive handling. I drive a sports car as well as an SUV, and I like the responsiveness.
I'm usually in a hurry, so I have to have a lot of horsepower.
I spend a lot of time on I-75 and on the freeways, and to be able to operate at high speeds and still be assured that the vehicle is well balanced is important.
And just something that kind of works ergonomically with me. It's fit for me and not just for the car.
My wife is 4'8.5", and I'm nearly 6 feet, and so there's a big difference in size. So, and even though I drive the car, and she has her own car, and we each drive our individual cars 90% of the time, we always have to keep in mind that she may be driving my car. So it's always been very important that we can pick a car that the seats adjust to, that she can reach the pedals, and that the steering wheel adjusts, and they're hard to find.
You can tell by the comments that our customers are savvy about technology. It takes a lot to impress them. But then Taurus always has been about innovation, technology that's usable in the real world. For 2000, Taurus innovation is evident in the new optional power adjustable pedals. When Ford surveyed customers about this feature, we asked them how much they thought it would cost. Their perceived value was almost $350. When these same customers learned that this feature actually cost only $120, more than 50% of them said they would purchase this option. Bob, can you tell us more about this feature and suggest some ways to demonstrate it to our customers?
I'd be happy to. I would definitely be in that 50% of the people that would pay to have these pedals. Now, many people are going to think that, well, you know, adjustable pedals are probably only going to be for those that are very short, to allow the pedals to come up to them. Well, I'm kind of Joe average person, and I can definitely use these pedals as well. Let's take a look and see how they work. What these pedals allow me to do is to get into the car and to adjust the seating position, the steering wheel, all of the controls so that I can easily reach them with my hands, obviously. To me, it's very important that you're comfortable in the car and that you can reach all of the controls easily. Then the last thing you can do is to reach down, the switch is just on the side of the seat bolster here, and adjust the power pedals. They move fore and aft a total of 3 inches, which is probably going to accommodate just about anybody. Now keep in mind that these adjustable pedals are only available in Taurus models that have a power driver's seat, and that's an important thing to remember. Also, I want to make sure that you understand that Taurus and Sable are the only passenger cars that are available with power adjustable pedals. Now, there are a number of other technologies that have been incorporated into Taurus, especially in the drivetrain and powertrain. In order to show you these, I took a new Taurus out for a drive. The engine offerings for the 2000 Taurus are basically the same as last year. You have 2 3-liter V6 engines. However, there have been a number of enhancements. First of all, in terms of horsepower, both engines are up in horsepower and torque. The Vulcan engine now has 155 horsepower, and the Duratec engine is up to 200 horsepower. This horsepower increase has mainly been accomplished through better breathing. The biggest difference most customers are probably going to notice on the engines has to do with noise and vibration. I would definitely suggest that you take your customer on a smooth road, quiet street type of situation so that they can appreciate these modifications to the engine. The transaxles are also similar to what you had in 1999, but have been enhanced as well with something called adaptive shift control. Now, this is a very important improvement. This allows the transmissions to change their shifting patterns on the fly. Now, another important feature here is it not only changes the shift patterns for the driver, it can even compensate for wear and tear in the transmission. On paper, the suspension system for the 2000 Taurus looks very similar to 1999, but there have been a number of enhancements. The biggest one probably is that it's actually been softened. From a ride standpoint and a noise standpoint, the 2000 Taurus is very comfortable. You need to make sure that you take your customers on rough road surfaces for them to appreciate this improvement. You might think that because of this softer suspension, the handling may have been compromised, but that's just not the case at all. I've always considered Taurus to have best-in-class handling, and it still does. The softer suspension in some respects for me actually enhances the handling in that it's a smoother ride through the corners, and the handling is very linear, very easy to control. So make sure you also take your customers on the twisty road surfaces to appreciate the handling. A key factor in selling the 2000 Taurus is going to be to match the customer to the correct engine. Now, there may be some confusion on the customer's part because both engines are 3-liter V6 engines. A customer that is looking for fuel economy or looking to move up from, say, a lower powered vehicle is going to be very happy with a Vulcan engine. However, a customer who wants to move up in terms of performance and is looking for a more performance-oriented vehicle is definitely going to want to experience the Duratec engine. Your job is going to be to make sure that they drive a course that is suitable for them to be able to notice the differences between the two. Those differences are not going to show up in just driving around the block in the city. You're going to have to take them out on the highway to make sure they can appreciate the Duratec power. There's very little difference in horsepower and torque between the Vulcan and Duratec engine below 3,000 RPM. So you really need to be in a passing maneuver, or as we are here on an entrance ramp, for the customer to really notice the increase in power with the Duratec engine. You need to make sure that they rev the engine well above that 3,000 RPM range and really feel the difference in performance.
What makes Taurus exciting is the way it connects deeply with so many customers who feel Taurus is my kind of car. Peace of mind for families, the way it fits their lifestyle, reliability and durability, that's the power of Taurus for 2000. And that's the power you have to share with your customers.